But you saw how quickly he kind of moved when we pulled up?
Yeah.
And that's good. You want them to do that. You don't want them to just stand there and act like you're no problem at all to them. You know, that kind of shows he's sort of comfortable with the area, but he's not that comfortable with somebody getting too close to him. So that's sort of the behavior that we want. Ideally, he wouldn't even come in here. That's the behavior that we really want. But
a campground has called for help. A bear has been seen around the campsites.
Alright, so keep your eyes peeled. And a lot of the time they'll just be kind of in the bushes in the green space, not actually in a campsite, just feeding on the buffalo berries. So if you're kind of looking for bushes shaking, it's probably a black bear, because normally people mention if it's cinnamon, but I should have asked. But all of these bushes that you're seeing here, they're all buffalo berry or shepherdia, and they're the ones that Jeff was talking about that the bears are loving to eat.
Oh, yeah.
And they really grow up in the campgrounds just because of the clearing that's been done to create the campground. Just lets in more sun to the forest floor, and then those berry bushes really flourish.
Jen will be driving around a few more times around the campsites, but we will not see this bear again today. The coexistence between tourism and wildlife is nothing unusual in the Jasper National Park. Just by seeing all the signs when you're driving or hiking, you know that you're in wildlife habitat. So, how do tourism and wilderness manage to keep a balance in Jasper National Park? Jen is part of the wildlife management group in the Jasper National Park. The main part of her job is to keep the right distance between wildlife and humans so that both remain safe.
That'll be the thing. Okay. Hey, bear. Yo, bear.
When animals get too close to the road, Jen has to chase them away to avoid traffic jams or potentially dangerous situations between the tourists and the animal.
So one of them got away on me, but they'll meet up again soon. So that was a big group of cows and calves. It's probably the same group that comes into town pretty much every day or two. So they're fairly easy to move, but you can see how comfortable they were being really close to people, that it doesn't really faze them too much. But once people start getting out of their cars and getting closer to them, then those cows can be a little bit more aggressive.
Keeping the wildlife wild and avoid habituation is fundamental for the protection of animals in the Jasper National Park.
We try to prevent habituation, but really what happens is that animals lose their fear of people. They then tend to take advantage of the proximity with people, so they try to find food from people. They try to use people as a shield against predators. And in predators themselves, when they become too used to people, they don't have a respect for whether they come too close, and potentially can be dangerous to people.
Sir, With wildlife on the road, it's much safer if you just stay in your vehicle and just try to take a photo from there and then move on. Okay, thank you. But yeah, this is probably one that's here very often, very used to people. So he's never done anything that's aggressive. So in this case, it's more just the traffic and the people, and you know, getting out of their cars, especially with small children and things like that. That you just want to make sure that they know to give them a little bit of space.
So for the wildlife side, it is deadly for them because, you know, as an organization that invites people to come to the park, we can't invite them into a dangerous situation. So if we have wildlife that we know are habituated to people, we have to destroy them. So we've had to destroy wolves in the past because they've come too close to people. They might not even hurt them, but they simply show those levels of habituation that are dangerous. Bears are the same. When bears become used to people, they know they can get food from people, they become more aggressive. And we know from experience that there's a road they travel along where they start at being fearful of people, and then they become more comfortable, then they become a little bit more, from comfort they move to aggression, and then they move to being dangerous. And before they get dangerous, we have to do something about it. We can't let people be attacked by wildlife before we do something about it. So as soon as we have signs that wildlife are habituated, often we have to remove those wildlife. We have to kill animals in order to protect people.
Yeah.
James was telling me about this.
So he saw that, or he heard it?
I don't know if he... I
met the Wildlife Guardians, an organization which was created in 2010 in the Jasper National Park. Their aim is to educate people and explain them how to behave around wildlife.
Well, we want to make sure that the wildlife remains wild and that the people also get to see the animals.
Hello, bonjour, you're gonna have to stay inside your car. It can be dangerous to be that close. You all have to stay inside your car, please.
It's really important that the animals remain wild so that they continue to survive. Tame animals actually wouldn't survive in the wild because they wouldn't be able to find food for themselves, they wouldn't be able to, you know, hunt or even forage for that matter. We've seen animals that have been fed by humans stop foraging.
Every day, the Wildlife Guardians ride along the park and try to give people the opportunity to see the animals, to take pictures, and at the same time, to keep the animals wild and safe. They talk to people, answer their questions, and teach them about the surrounding area.
Exactly, just to know like where it was going, and it goes.
Tourism and having people visit the park also plays an important role for wildlife conservation.
So you've got to think that national parks in Canada are actually a fairly small part of our land base. I mean, even though Jasper's a big place, it's small relative to the size of Canada. So by inviting people into Jasper, into the national park, we can educate them and have an opportunity to have a wildlife experience or a positive nature experience. And so it's not about whether or not we're just protecting Jasper, but whether or not we can educate Canadians that protecting nature everywhere is important. For sure, bringing people to a national park and having them learn about nature, experience nature, is fundamental to protection of nature around the world.
And you know, Parks Canada has that mandate as well. They have to find a balance within their organization of wildlife conservation and visitor experience.
Their mandate is, the most important one, is to put ecological integrity first. That's their top priority. In other words, taking care of wildlife and wilderness, taking care of nature. That should come first. But unfortunately, now, in the sort of present sort of mood in Canada, business is coming first, and this makes it very difficult for Parks Canada.
And why is business coming first now?
Because we have a government, a conservative government, which is very much business oriented. And the other thing is that the business people here are taking advantage of the present government that's in, because they are, the government is friendly to business. So they are going to the government to ask for whatever they want. And one of them was the Brewster Skywalk.
The recent construction of the so-called interpretive skywalk on the world-known Highway 93 has divided public opinion. Is it appropriate in a national park? Is the balance between tourism and nature kept with this kind of new development?
You know, we have a lot to offer, and the development is just part of the experience that our guests are hoping to have that come to the national park. And are we pro? We're pro if it means balance. You know, and there's a lot of things that, you know, we would consider inappropriate in a national park. And there are a lot of things that we think help enhance the experience.
I think that it is not appropriate for a national park. I think that the site that they have chosen for it is not. I don't know why they would have put a tourist attraction there, and I think that the Glacier Discovery Walk is superfluous, and I think the bottom line is that it's for money.
The Glacier Skywalk will have a whole bunch of interpretive panels set all around so people can understand that where they are standing out on the skywalk, a glacier used to be. And the impacts of everything that's happening around the globe are impacting the glacier. And you know, this is an education piece. Now visitors have the opportunity to go and understand the significance of what's happening in the world, rather than standing at a beautiful spot along the highway, taking a picture of the scenery that is breathtaking, but yet not understanding the significance of where you are.
The one in the Grand Canyon is not in the national park. It's on the Wallapai Indian Reserve, which is next door to the national park. And when they suggested they were going to build this one, I telephoned down to the States, to Washington, and asked the Sierra Club down there and said, what was the reason that it was not built in the national park? Because I wanted to know why the national parks would forbid it down there and we wouldn't. And they said, oh, you would never be allowed something like that in a national park. But here we are.
The people that put the skywalk in, which is Brewster Transportation, they have gone through all the legal and regulations and process that Parks Canada has asked them to do. And they have done that, and then the decision was Parks Canada's decision to say yes or no.
See, one of the problems is that Parks Canada gets royalties from these companies. Every boat trip that they sell, every ticket that's sold, Parks Canada gets a part of it. They would get a percentage of it. But the trouble is that Parks Canada is underfunded by the federal government, so they haven't got enough money anymore. This government has cut their money down so much that they're not able to run the park properly, so they have to rely on money that's coming from these businesses. So you can see they're sort of caught.
I think that allowing something like the Glacier Discovery Walk in a national park is opening the doors to all sorts of other entrepreneurs, business people that want to come in and have a money-making business here. And I think that that's what this is. The Discovery Walk opens it up for everybody. I think Parks Canada has sold their soul.
As chamber businesses and the 200 businesses we represent, it's always important to understand that we're ambassadors of the park. And there were concerns during the initial open forums that, you know, at some point in time we were going to see the next Disney World down Highway 93, one of the most pristine drives in Canada. And, you know, as businesses, we don't want that any more than anybody else. I think it's important that the experiences that we offer to the visitors to the park are unique in nature, and they provide a very specific objective in mind.
So would you go and see, would you go and experience the Glacier Discovery Walk?
Yeah, I would. I would. I'd go and see what it's like.
But the Skywalk is not the only new development that conflicts with Parks Canada's mandate. Maligne Tours, a company which runs boat trips on the Maligne Lake, one of the most beautiful lakes in the Rocky Mountains, wants to build 66 suites near the lake. I asked the general manager of the Maligne Tours for an interview to get her point of view about these new developments, but she didn't want to give her opinion. Instead, she told me to contact her spokesman, who was in Quebec, the other side of Canada, which made it impossible for me to meet him. But I met Paulette and Volker, who've been living in the Jasper National Park for about 30 years. They run a wilderness hostel, and they're really concerned about the expanding development up at the Maligne Lake.
So because you live out here, it's all around us. And because it's a valley, the animals don't go high up. They travel where it's easiest to travel. That's right here. That's why our impact has to be so minimal. And that's why the impact at Maligne Lake has to be so minimal, because that's in these valley bottoms. That's where the best traveling is. That's where all the wildlife goes. That's where all the wildlife meets. That's where all the hunting takes place. That's where everything happens. And this is why these valley bottoms are so important, and we already occupy it with our road. And our road, the cars kill the animals. And you have to ask John. I'll show you the statistics for Jasper National Park. How many animals get killed every year? By increasing it, by bringing more people, more cars, more business, you increase also that.
See, and this is another example of what can happen if you're not careful with your food and with garbage. We had, one year we had a black bear and 2 cubs, and they came in the yard almost every day, and they ate the dandelion tops, and they just behaved just perfect. They were wonderful to watch. But then after a while, they got into this.
This is across the road. There's a big building across the road.
So here's the open garbage.
And look,
and this is an ice
now
cream.
Now it's the bears and the ice cream.
And see, she got right into the ice cream.
Oh, the bears and the ice cream. Right? And then
so then her behavior changed. And one day, this is what she did to our door. This is the door to our house.
Went right through.
Because they had to come and tranquilize them, you know.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because now she's aggressive. So she's doing that to here. What is she going to do to people at the canyon? And like I say, you know, beautiful bear.
That's how it started.
So if this happens more and more, like more and more development up there, that's another reason why it's not a good thing.
As managers of a wilderness hostel, Paulette and Volker try to avoid dangerous situations with wildlife by educating their guests.
Each individual guest who comes here, we'll introduce to the hostel and show them around. But what you will see as you come to the hostel is this. So, this explains everything. So this is our hostel, Maligne Canyon, on Tuesday, August 13th, which was today. One black bear, he was when I came home, the black bear was right over there in the berries. And then yesterday were 3 black bears, a mother and her 2 cubs, and they were down by the river and we saw them crossing the river. See, this is why there's a sign. Because of bears in the area, please have no food outside. There's a whole bunch of stuff explained about the bears, wild animals in the area. If there's bears in this area, return to. So this is so for everybody to know before I even talk to them when they come here, that they see how that is.
Just as Paulette and Volker, Michael has chosen to run a green business. He is the owner of the Pine Bungalows near the town of Jasper. Michael works close with Parks Canada to minimize his business's impact on the wildlife and the surrounding area.
When people want more luxury out here, and they want a swimming pool, and they want a golf course, and they want tennis courts, and they want all of these amenities, I just flatly refuse to take up good land for the animals to graze on to make it more comfortable for the customers.
And that is probably one of the reasons that deers seem to enjoy grassing at Michael's Pine Bungalows. To reduce the space occupied by his business, Michael has decided, along with Parks Canada, to remove 22 of his 72 individual cabins within 10 years.
And so I'm crazy. The people that I tell that I'm removing units and I'm going to lose $300,000 a year, they think that I'm absolutely nuts. And I look at them and I say, your priorities are in the wrong place. Maybe my priorities are in the wrong place, but maybe my priorities are in the right place.
Another way of educating visitors is to give them the opportunity to get involved in volunteer programs, such as the trail restoration that is offered by the non-profit organizations, the Friends of Jasper National Park and the Jasper Trail Alliance.
Well, I think if people realize the importance of the national park and actually make that connection by physically doing something, not just hearing about it, but actually doing something, that they do get a connection and they do start to feel personally responsible for what happens to the park, whether they live here, whether they're traveling here, or whether they're never going to come back again.
The trail system is very important and has to be restored so that visitors keep using them instead of making their own. This gives the animals human-free spaces where they are left alone.
Standing here, but there might be a little tree, like a little spruce tree that'll be about this high, and you think, oh, that's not bothering anyone. But they're just going to get bigger.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to get bigger, they're going to grow, the branches are going to grow out into the trail, and what's going to happen is that people will start going around it farther and farther. The trail's going to gradually move, and we don't want that to happen.
And then any material we cut, whether it's trees, berry bushes, branches, they get tossed a long ways away, and not piled, but just make sure it's sort of broadcasted, okay? Because it just makes it more natural. Because we're still on a trail and we don't want to have, it looks natural, but it's a controlled pruning natural.
Yeah. Ideally, you want it so that when people come along here, they can't tell that we've been here.
Yeah.
You don't want to see piles of bush that we've cut down lying on either side of the trail. We want it to look, as Emily said, we want it to look naturally clear.
You had asked about volunteers, and we actually have, last year I think we had over 3,500 volunteer hours donated to the Friends of Jasper National Park. And that's a combination of locals and visitors. But that goes a long way to say how much people really care about this park.
I just hope that we as human beings realize how important the natural landscape is and how hard it is. Mother Nature's taken millions of years to create this. We can destroy it in days and minutes. So I'm not on a crusade to change everything or change anybody. It's just my feeling, and as someone who was born and raised here, that's about all I really want to say, is that we have to look after the future.
If I was a flower growing wild and free, all I'd want is you to be my sweet honeybee. And if I was a tree growing tall and green, all I'd want is you to shade me and be my leaves. If I was a flower growing wild and free, all I'd want is you to be my sweet honeybee. And if I was a tree growing tall and green, all I'd want is you to shade me and be my leaves. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea. If you were a river in the mountains tall, the rumble of your water would be my call. If you were the winter, I know I'd be the snow, just as long as you're with me when the cold winds blow. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea. If you were a wink, I'd be a nod. If you were a seed, well, I'd be a pod. If you were a floor, I'd wanna be the rug. And if you were a kiss, I know I'd be a hug. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea. If you were the wood, I'd be the fire. If you were the love, I'd be the desire. If you were a castle, I'd be your moat. And if you were an ocean, I'd learn to float. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea.